chug some beers and make some bad gambling picks. Welcome to ChuggieBets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to ChuggieBets College Football Week 2 edition. I'm Andy, that's Al, that's Sunshine, that's Matt. We've got a bunch of good stuff for you today, but before we get to that, let's drink a beer.
Do it.
Cheers, boys.
Peppers are always colder. Always colder.
Good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, last week, our winner of the week was Mr. Sunshine, going 5-1. As we're recording this, the Duke-Clemson game is still pending, so could end up 5-2, but still a great week. And you won your Chuggy Bet, and it's your birthday. So, Sunshine, you get to give out 3 chugs today. Congratulations. And in just a moment, we'll have you kick it off with your thoughts from the week. But just real quick to run through the rest of the record, I was in second at 8-7. Matt was in third at 6-7, and Al and Danny are going to have huge comebacks this week.
Yeah.
So,
if I'm drunk to start the podcast, probably don't tell me.
all right, Sunshine, what were your thoughts from week 1 of college football season?
For me, there's really only one thing that I care to talk about, and it's those Seminoles. And boy, how did they look? They made my night. And the minute that game ended, I became a huge Duke Blue Devils fan.
Hell yeah.
Ready to take Clemson out. So I will end this week 5-2, I hope. But oh boy, how about them Noles?
It was an amazing game. Really nervy at first, and LSU's good. Like, this isn't one of those things where I don't think LSU may be overrated. They may be overrated, but they're not bad. Even without Mason in the middle, they looked dominant. They were blowing up Norvell's game plan. But his game plan changes and how he started moving pieces around in order to run the counters that he likes to run in the second half was masterful. I think he outcoached Brian Kelly for the 4th straight time that they faced each other in 4 years. Like, talent, you take the talent out, Norvell is a far better strategic coach than Brian Kelly, and I think it was proven. It was on display last night. It was a masterful job.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Brian Kelly's coaching strategy is, you guys are supposed to be better. Fucking do something. And it's like, okay. No, FSU. So one thing, LSU, I think. To your point, I think both are going to be a good team this year, but I don't think they're really playoff caliber. I think that game showed it. They're top 15 to top 10 finish is probably what I'm expecting.
Sounds right.
I don't think they're going to hang with the elite in the SEC, but I sure do think FSU can. That game could have been 70-15. That could have been it could have been a real blowout if they had their shit together in the first half.
I agree.
And it wasn't LSU stopping FSU, it was FSU stopping FSU. And then they figured it out in the second half and ran away with it. So I was really impressed.
Yeah, I said in our ACC preview podcast that I would probably take the Noles under. It was just a lean. I didn't lock it up, and I'm really glad I didn't, because the way they looked last night, I wouldn't want to be on their season win total under.
Yeah, I think we talked about preseason Heisman candidates, and I think I picked Jordan Travis, which sounds really smart now.
You're genius.
Genius.
You're going to need Colorado to lose some games for that.
Oh, man, I can't wait. National championship, Florida State, Colorado. Dion just talking shit all week. I will be here for it. And when we beat Colorado by 60, I'm also going to be there for it, because that would be ugly fast.
Man, Colorado looks good, though. I feel like I need to take my licks there. I was definitely down on the Buffaloes this year, and they not only hung with, but topped TCU, so they looked really good doing it. Travis Hunter, incredible. He played 120 snaps, plays corner and receiver, and he's very good at both. So if you, for some reason, were watching a different game at that time, make sure you take some time out to watch him, because him and Shedeur Sanders are good enough to get that team a lot more than the 3.5 wins they were projected to get this year. Oh, that feels like a bad bet too.
That it does. And I think Andy and I'm not going to speak for Andy here. I know I was quite adamant that there's no way that they were winning 3.5, 4 games. And what I took away from that game is that the hires that Dion made were really good. Charles Kelly's fine. Their defense is going to be really bad. Colorado is going to have to play. They don't have the talent there. Sean Lewis, who's the offensive coordinator, was the head coach at Kent State for the last 5 or 6 years. I thought he drew up a beautiful game plan. Sanders was barely under pressure, wide open lanes, a lot of misdirection, and using things with teams that don't have as much talent have to do in order to win ball games. And he pulled every card. I thought it was beautiful game planning. And I was clearly wrong. I was super wrong. I'm sorry, Colorado, and I'm sorry, Coach Prime. But
the season is still young. Lots of things can shift. But yeah, it looks like I was very wrong too. So
yeah, and
touche, Dion.
And not to be super negative, but Matt, I think one of the things you said when we talked about Colorado last time was that one of the concerns was depth. Right. Mm-hmm. And so the first game of the season is a lot different than the 8th game or the 10th game. So there is still a chance, if they, have any injuries, all college football teams have injuries, right, that they could drop off more steeply than some of the other teams. But that said, they looked way better on Saturday than I thought they would. So,
yeah, I mean, especially when your best player plays both ways, like they could drop off.
What's the reasonable expectation for him being able to do that? Like, that in Colorado, especially with that altitude, there's no way you could play 100 plays a week, right, for 12 weeks. That seems unreasonable. Like that is some phenomenal athleticism if he does it and doesn't get injured.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it sounds like injuries and like injury is going to be the biggest concern there, right? Like wearing out and then ending up with like a muscle strain or pull or something like that. But I would think, who knows? Shit, haven't seen it. You know, do they try and have him play like 2/3 on each side, or do they just let him go and see how he handles it?
They just put him on whichever side they need him for that particular game, right? Like against Nebraska, you don't need him on defense. Like Nebraska's not going to score. It doesn't matter.
I don't know if you're ever going to need him on defense. If
you're putting up 50, 60 points a game. Yeah.
Speaking of the Pac-12, though, I was super impressed by the Pac-12. There was a couple teams that put up 70 points. Oregon, Bo Nix looked pretty freaking good. Before I noticed, I was just kind of floating around the dial, and I was like, man, when did this Oregon game start? It was 2 minutes left in the second, and they were up by 50. 50. They were up by 50 on Portland State, who I don't think is actually a bad team. Just Oregon played. Washington, Michael Penix is the truth, man. They can hang. Oregon can hang all the Bo Nix billboards they want anywhere. If Washington, that kid is a totally different talent. USC was a wagon. Colorado, speaking of those teams, all handled their business this week. I was super impressed. My takeaway was the Pac-12 is going to be really good.
Stanford, Cal.
Well, that's an ACC team. Oh, so, yeah, I of course, the ACC, it just means more. Accept it. ACC, EPT, it.
The Athletic Coast Conference.
AC2C Conference.
Or the Academic Coast Conference. Probably more accurate.
Bunch of nerds. But, I was really impressed by the Pac-12. Let's apologize. I have one more apology. On the show last week, I said that North Texas was going to win against Cal. They lost by 30 to a good ACC team in Cal. So I'm wrong. I was clearly wrong. I'm super impressed as someone who supports Cal, likes rooting interest in Cal. I was very happy with the result, but I was very wrong from a gambling perspective.
Same.
Well, make up for it this
week. I was on that.
North Texas has an intriguing matchup.
They do. I was on that with you, Matt. I actually gave out a 4-team moneyline round robin on TikTok, and that was my only loss of the 4. I hit the other 3, and 2 of them were pretty big plus money, but that one was never even close. Like they never even sniffed it. So no fun. So this weekend, something interesting, probably just interesting to us, but happened, which is the teams that we root for played in prime time on 3 consecutive nights. Miami on Friday night, Illinois on Saturday night, and FSU on Sunday night. They all 3 won. But what's the saying? Good teams win, great teams cover. I do not have a great team, but you both do. So congratulations to all of you. Couple of big covers there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a great team for a week. We'll see how it
Enjoy
goes.
it. You could have been sweating out a Toledo game.
Oh,
So
I was so sweaty. I kept betting it too. I was like, Illinois got this. Illinois is going to do this. And I was like, Illinois may not do this. It came down to a crazy 4th down play to get the win.
it was an insane play. Agreed. And we probably didn't deserve the win. The only positive I'm taking out of it is that at no point did it feel like they were a better team than us. It felt like we were beating ourselves, which is something that you can fix. Hopefully that's just like a first week jitters kind of thing.
That's deeply, deeply Illinois. I feel like every time we talk about Illinois, that's like what you say. If we can not beat ourselves, we can win this game.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anybody else have thoughts from last week before we move into the topic of the week?
Go ahead.
Georgia Tech was pretty good for a whole quarter.
Hey, they covered. That's a great team
covered.
right there.
Yeah.
Man, I had some hot takes, and I was wrong about a lot of them. Some of them I was dead right on, but that one, yeah. Louisville is going to be good going down the stretch, and I hope Georgia Tech's good. I just don't see it. I don't see that bottom of the ACC is going to be bad, and they're going to be right there in there with Virginia. What was I going to say? Go ahead, Andy. Run the show. I had a no, Brian Ferentz.
Iowa
update. Brian Ferentz, if you weren't here last week, he needs 300 points this year to keep his job. Iowa, good team always, but not good at scoring points. They had one of their easiest matchups of the week. 300 divided by 12 games means he needs 25 points. But there are some situations where he's going to need to score more points because he's going to have tougher games. He played Utah State, not a great team, scored 24. So just on the average, he's behind pace. But if you think about like the aggregate numbers, he's well behind pace. He's going to need to put up some 70 burgers against some of these bad teams coming up because he's not going to get there. Yeah.
So
that's actually a fun.
I know we were texting during this game and you guys missed it, but I had this game on one of my screens, and Iowa started the game with a long touchdown pass. And I thought I had the wrong game on. And I was like, holy crap. Like, does Iowa have an offense? Like, they're going to be incredible this year if they have an offense. And then they went back to Iowaing the rest of the game.
I wonder if his goal is just to do that every quarter, hit one long touchdown pass, and then hope that the rest of the game gets him where he needs to be.
Is any of the blame have to be on Phil Parker because they didn't score a defensive touchdown?
That's true. That's true.
Last year would have been only defensive touchdown, so he's actually doing far better. But
like they're going to have to score 100 on Northwestern.
100.
I'm looking at the schedule now. Like,
but they will.
Confident they're going to get 25 in most of these games.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. It's going to be super fun to watch this down the stretch. I thought they were going to get 40 or 45 against Utah State, and then that was going to give them a good clearance. He's in trouble. He's legitimately in trouble. That's super fun to me. No,
they probably got him reading books, probably like playing Bill Walsh college football, trying to figure out like new offensive strategies.
Speaking of countdowns, I don't know the number, but it has now been another week since Northwestern has won a game in the United States. That's we've gone up by another 7, and this was one of their chances. Rutgers is not great. If they wanted to win a game, this was a good one to try and get. And
they were pretty far.
They couldn't have been further. They couldn't have been further.
I was so thankful when they scored that touchdown at the end. I was just like, oh, thank goodness, because it was just awful. It was terrible to watch.
I love
this week is their best shot. They need the game this week. When Northwestern plays UTEP at that cold field, where they don't have lights and in Evanston, Illinois, or wherever city that is. They're going to need to win that one. If not, I think it's going to be another year.
Spoiler
they play
alert.
Howard. They play Howard.
I'm calling for them to not win this one.
I don't. Oh, I'm betting for them to not win it either. But.
You know, enough with the spoilers. Let's
All
get
right.
into it. What do you guys think?
So we don't have any picks for Thursday night, but that's okay because we'll have NFL on Thursday night, so nobody needs to watch Murray State Louisville. On Friday night, we've got a.
What kind of sicko has that game on instead of Lions Chiefs?
Great question.
Like a real
Great
fucking
question.
degenerate.
Maybe
Oh.
Lamar Jackson. Not that he's a degenerate, but
Only
Teddy Bridgewater.
Like I don't even think Brian Brom's gonna be watching the Louisville game.
Where's the state of Murray? Is that like Indiana too? Like only that little pocket of the world will be watching this game, and everyone else is watching the Chief Lions.
The Racers,
It's right
baby.
next to Ball.
Oh, the state of Ball. Lovely
Murray.
this time of year.
Murray and Ball border each other. Al, so why don't you kick us off with your pick, and then Matt and I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay 3 with Kansas on Friday night. They're at home. They hung like 50 something last week, and Illinois struggled with Toledo. There's a logic, not a lot of it, but it all makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Matt, you want to go first?
Sure. Jalen Daniels will be back for this game for Kansas. They are expecting him to be back. He was a great quarterback for Kansas last year when they started off like that magical run where they won their first 5 or 6 games. So that is scary. Their head coach, I think is that Lance Leipold? I think it is Lance Leipold still at Kansas. He's a great coach. The problem is Kansas is so bad on defense, and you're going to have 2 sides that are really good facing each other and 2 sides that are bad facing each other. I love Illinois' defense. Even with what happened in the first game, I think they'll correct it. And Kansas' offense is going to be fun, right? That's going to be a fun game. But Kansas' defense is so bad. They're such a weak side that I have to take the points with them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I mentioned earlier, I think Illinois is still going to be a decent team this year. They just had some kinks they needed to iron out, and hopefully they do that this week. So I am on Illinois plus 3.5. But the play I like even more is actually the under 55, because I like Illinois' defense to be able to shut down Kansas, and Illinois can't score on anybody. I don't care how bad your defense is. We're not putting up a ton of points. So I like this one to go low and stay under 55.
Yeah, if you like Illinois, you might as well like that under too, right? Because Illinois is not going to hang like 30 on Kansas here. So
yeah, exactly. So I'll keep us rolling into our first Saturday game. Vanderbilt is going in to take on Wake Forest. 2-0 Vanderbilt, by the way. So if you were on that win total, you are halfway there already. And I'm taking Vanderbilt plus the 11.5. I do think that Wake Forest is the better team, but this is just a few too many points, and I think Vandy can keep it close. Al, you have a play there too?
Yeah, I'm taking the under 58.5, and I think it's because both of these teams scored a ton of points this week, and that number feels inflated. I think, like you said, Vandy's 2-0. I doubt they're going to keep rattling off wins here. It just feels like one that's going to be a little bit stinky. And hopefully this under cruises.
I could live with stinky low numbers because that makes us more likely to cover the 11.5. So.
Yeah, we're not in agreement, but we're in solidarity.
You want to keep us rolling there, Al?
Yeah, same story. So what I like to do when there's a heavy favorite with a large spread is I usually like to take the over. Sometimes I feel more comfortable doing that. So Ball State at Georgia, I think Georgia's laying like 38.5 or something silly, and they'll probably clear that. But I think if they clear that, if they're covering the spread, they're very likely to hit the over. They might hit the over on their own, and you get a field goal or a touchdown from Ball State, and that's just a little extra on top. So we'll see if that theory pans out this week. So it's Georgia, Ball State, Georgia over 53.5.
Yeah, I could be persuaded into that one. I like that.
Yeah. Matt, you want to take us into Notre Dame playing NC State?
Yeah. Last week I came on here and I said Brandon Armstrong was going to be really good as a quarterback of NC State. He may be really good as a quarterback of NC State, but I wasn't very impressed with what I saw them at UConn. Now, granted, it was first week. They ended up winning. It was really, really ugly. And they ended up having a kind of escape UConn. And UConn may be better than I was anticipating, but I've been impressed with Notre Dame. Sam Hartman has been good. Now, granted, they played Navy and Tennessee State to this point, but I do think there's a big mismatch with Sam Hartman as a quarterback of that team. He's played NC State a billion times at this point, being in the same conference and division as them. I think he'll be able to handle this. I'm laying the 7 with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Matt. I think two things sort of are converging here. One being that, like you said, Notre Dame looks really good. They tend to not play well against really good competition. And I don't think NC State is qualifying as really good competition this year, at least not this game. NC State also really good at shitting the bed in games that are important. So you combine those two like perennial truths, and you got Notre Dame laying just a touchdown. I think it's probably up to 7.5. It doesn't matter. Take it, lay it.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, I don't hate it. You're right about Hartman looking good. So
he's always looking good.
Oh my God, I don't. Did you guys see? I think I sent it to y'all. They're trying to. I don't know if it's actual play calls or if it's kind of trying to throw the defense so they're not catching signals. But Sam Hartman, when they had the backup in this week, was out there like giving signals. They had the one guy doing like a card or whatever, and he's out there going. I was like, okay, I see the call. And for those who are only listening, there were a lot of inappropriate hand gestures, including fists and
has
mouths.
Danny seen Sam Hartman do that? Because that's
I'm pretty sure that's why he's out, quote unquote, sick tonight.
oh, he's got that tennis elbow.
Carpal tunnel.
All right. Next, we've got Utah going into Baylor. Al and I both have picks here. I'm a little nervous about this one just because sometimes week 2 is called overreaction week. And excuse me, that might be what's happening here. Utah, while they didn't put Florida away like they could have, they never really struggled with Florida. And then Baylor got beat. Yeah, they did not look good. So this could be a little bit of overreaction. Hopefully it's not. I like laying the points with Utah. Al and I got 2 different numbers here, but I like anything under a touchdown. I do think Utah is a better team, and I think they can beat Baylor even at Baylor.
Yeah, I think Andy got -5.5. I took -6.5. I'm same boat. I think even if it is overreaction week, I think if anything, that's more the other way. I don't think Florida's as bad as teams are probably thinking they are. Being in Jacksonville, it sounds like the sky is falling. And yeah, I mean, while that would be nice, I think they typically get their act together anyway. Utah looked really good. They beat the Gators by more than this, and Baylor is Baylor. Like, I don't know, like
the starting quarterback for Baylor is out for the next 3 weeks with an MCL injury as well.
That's right, yeah. So maybe their backup's really good and pulls a Brock Purdy or some shit. But yeah, I'll lay it with Utah.
That's probably something I will do in my actual book, but not for Chuggy. Because I like it. It seems so obvious. It seems like the most obvious play. Uncle Kyle, I'm not betting against Uncle Kyle. That's not what I do. So.
And is Cam Rising coming back?
I don't have any definitive information yet. He's close for what.
Honestly, even if he doesn't, the other 2 quarterbacks both looked pretty good too. So not too worried about it.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't noticed, I'm getting all of my plays out in the noon slate here Saturday. I'm taking the next game here. Troy at Kansas State. I'm gonna take the points with Troy. I saw 15.5. That is, I mean, I don't know. I know, Matt, you really like Kansas State, and I think that you're probably right. They're going to be really good this year. But Troy is no slouch, and this is too many points. for them to be laying. Like this is easily, I can easily see this finishing inside of 2 touchdowns. So to be able to get 15.5, I was like, I can't pass that.
I don't hate it. Troy's a good team. And Chris Kleiman, I like him as a coach as far as what he can do, but it's not like he's a great coach for gambling purposes. So I think they're going to win, but I understand your position, especially if you get 2 touchdowns and you still win that game.
Yeah.
Nice. This next one is our first Cyclone of the day. Sunshine, why don't you kick us off and tell us what we're all on here?
Oh man, I am all about Prime all of a sudden. I gotta tell you, I think that everybody on this podcast had a lot of not great things to say, and he was talking directly to us in that press conference. Also, if we thought his ego was insufferable, then buckle up, America, because it's coming.
And Sonny, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're a Jackson State alum, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think we're all laying it with Colorado here, right? I think Andy and I got -3. I think it's moved to 3.5. I mean, it feels stinky, but like Andy said, overreaction week. But it seems too good to be true, right? Like lay it. Like Colorado looked really good against TCU. Nebraska looked really bad against Minnesota. If you were to put TCU and Minnesota on the field together, I'm pretty sure TCU would run it up on them. So ipso facto, you got a Buffalo win here.
Yeah, so you guys are all out here apologizing to Prime. I'm gonna go the other way. I'm not ready to buy Colorado yet. I'm buying them today because they're playing Nebraska. This is not a buy Colorado for me. Maybe they'll go out and prove me wrong, but I just think Nebraska's bad. That's all this is. I'm not saying I'm in on Colorado for the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's as much fading Nebraska as it is following or tailing Colorado.
I'm probably going to join because of the sake of the Cyclone, but I'm usually like a counter better when things like trend too much. I'd love to take the other side because I'm like, it's ridiculous,
Same.
right? Like, Stanford, Hawaii last week is a perfect example. Everyone ran to the window to bet Hawaii, and Stanford just kicked their ass. And that's a bad Stanford team. They kicked their ass. So, like, I mean, yes, Colorado should be a lot fucking bad. If that Colorado team plays Nebraska, they should win by 3.5 points at least, right? Like that should happen without a doubt. But we'll see. But the crowd's going to be crazy in Boulder at 10 a.m. So lit. Everyone knows Colorado, and they think lit on the crowd there. So be sparked up.
Yeah, it's gonna be foggy.
They're gonna be sparked up for sure.
Matt, you want to keep us rolling there?
Yeah, I'm going to take the under. Sorry, Purdue, Virginia Tech noon game. I'm going to take the under 50 here. That number is dropping, so if you want that number, you got to do it now. There's expected to be some really bad weather in that part of the country. Those situations, I love to play the unders there because it's dropped from 54 already, and I still like it at 50. Both teams, Purdue showed up. They ended up playing a very bad game, but they showed some offensive prowess last week. But I think that's more on how bad the team they were playing is on defense. Fresno State, right? I don't think Fresno State is a particularly good defensive side. So I think both it's going to be ugly and sloppy. Take the under 50. I'm talking too much. Under 50. Do it.
And that concludes our picks for the weeknight games and the noon slate for week 2. Make sure you come back tomorrow to get our picks for the afternoon slate, the primetime games, and the late night games. Good night, Joey. Good night, Kent. Good night, Cactus. Good night, Steven. Good night, Matt. Good night, Tyler.